Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isaiah Reese. I'm the CEO of Blaze Fire Games, and I'm here today as we are about to start our panel through STEMCityUSA.com. Please make sure that you just chime into all of our social media pages. And we're here today to talk with two of my esteemed panelists. I'm going to allow them to go ahead and introduce themselves, but we're going to talk about the metaverse and Web 3.0 and the impact on the workforce development needs, which is a huge subject matter, global, but one that we'll be particularly talking about. And I'm glad to have my panelists on. So I'm going to go ahead and have them go ahead and introduce themselves with a brief introduction as we dive right into this thing called Web 3.0 and the metaverse and the workforce needs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Talisa Daughtry. I am the founder and chief technology officer at Web3 Together, and we are an ed tech startup that is committed to helping to create education, impact, empowerment, and equity in the Web3 space.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Justin Golston in the Web 2 world. I'm a professor at Penn State University as well as an advisory board member at Georgetown. In the Web 3 world, we are building SidTech DAO, which is a platform where we're actually democratizing education and we're building universities in a number of different metaverses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So welcome, Justin. Welcome to Lisa. So, well, you know what? Let's just dive right in, right? So, there was this thing back in the day called Web 1.0 and 2.0, right? Let's date ourselves back here a little bit, right? But it's changed, right? It's really changed. So let's dive right in about this question: what is Web 3.0? We understand the metaverse and what we're going to talk about. What is Web 3.0, and how is it going to change the future of workforce, in your opinion, Lisa?
So I'll jump right in. I am old. I don't look it, but I'm going to date myself. I entered into Web 1. I've seen Web 2, built on Web 2. Now we're over the threshold of Web 3. And Web 3 for me is why I love Web 3 is because of the ownership, right? The ability to collaborate, the ability of trust, building trust and transparency. And I feel like, one, because my background was a creative and I've always been a technologist, but merging those two together, that really made an impact for me to have ownership and to build in this space and to build with other people and build communities and opportunities.
And Justin, I heard a couple of things there, from Talisa. So about this, the control, maybe a little autonomy. I heard that kind of slipping in there. So can you kind of speak more to that? Because as we look at this, because that's what we want. This is a generation who says, "I tell you, you don't tell me."
Exactly.
Right?
So yeah, it's very interesting in that we just published a preprint of a journal article on digital inheritance.
Okay.
And one aspect of that is self-sovereign identity, right? Where you actually control your identity on the internet. So that's just one aspect of Web3. And with Web3, I think that I always say it's a collision course between blockchain, the metaverse, and artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. And all of those are going to converge, come together, and then the users, the people, are going to control all of that information and all of that data because right now it's centralized and we control nothing.
All right. So you heard Justin talk about this word centralized, and we're going to jump back to that. So I'm going to throw a couple of topics at Justin. I'm going to bounce it to you because you really kind of laid into must have been reading in my brain. So this idea of work from anywhere. What does that mean to you when you talk about Web 3.0 defining work from anywhere?
So one of my favorite people in the Web 2 world, Gary Vee. Gary Vee said it used to be or I can work for this company or this company, right?
I know Gary.
But now Gary says I work here and here. Or essentially I think that COVID accelerated this decentralized nature that we're actually experiencing right now, right? And then within industry, you had the Great Resignation.
Right.
We're actually seeing it now within higher education.
Absolutely.
Where higher education institutions want to control. They want to control their money back.
But those days are gone.
Without educators, what do higher education systems have?
Buildings.
Buildings.
Exactly. So it's like, so now they're trying to control certain things, and now you're seeing a lot of academics, a lot of professors with this decentralization, with this Web3 world, leave these institutions.
Right.
They're literally getting double or triple what they get in higher education institutions. One
All
of
right.
my closest peers from MIT,
Okay. Okay.
she was at MIT for 15 years.
Okay.
Amazon just said, "Yep, I'll pluck you, boop, gone." Now they have no option except for keeping that person on that they treat like garbage and still pay them. I don't know how we can get deep on this. My apologies, but anyway.
Speak a little bit closer into the mic. Closer in the mic. Closer in the mic.
But so now these higher education institutions have no control but to continue to pay them at an adjunct salary, but at a part-time basis. But those people are actually realizing their worth.
All right. So Talisa, he actually leads into a space that I heard you briefly talking about something in your field. So let's talk about the subject of recruitment and attracting talent.
Right.
Right. Justin just talked about, hey,
Right.
and can you, while you're answering this, because some companies are struggling to find and attract this new talent, but then we got what I call the OG talent, who maybe is afraid to upskill themselves, right, guys? So I want you to speak on your subject matter title is what is Web 3.0 in this metaverse world? How can they help and recruit this new talent while upskilling what I call the OG talent?
So yeah, I actually, the reason why I built my business was because I was the OG talent and I couldn't find a place to upskill myself to learn the skills that I wanted to learn to participate in this new space back in 2018. So basically, what was happening was I was seeing a whole bunch of discussions on Twitter, LinkedIn, and people just sharing various documents and white papers and links to like random blockchain built websites that, it didn't really have trust information. Like it just was scattered everywhere. There was
Right.
no credible way to know if what you was learning or reading was something that you should be actually practicing and implementing into your career and development strategy. So basically, working with a whole bunch of educators and institutions and people who were a part of this great exodus over 2019 and 2020 and 2021, who were like, we want to build this thing because we know exactly what is missing. We know exactly the types of skill sets that people should be developing to enhance their viability into this space. There's about to be 10,000 jobs created over the next, 5 or so years. And I say more than that, actually,
Right.
about 25,000, because I actually know, like, companies like Consensus, have created about 50,000 jobs in the metaverse and Web3 space. So, when you're talking about, upskilling the OGs, I really feel that Web3 creates not just equity for like OGs or newcomers or millennials or Gen Z or whoever. I really do feel like it's about to be a space where it's going to be multi-generational, multi-skill, multifunctional, and I'm really looking forward to that. But as far as upskilling them, where do we come from to get this information and how do we attain
Yeah,
it and
like
grow?
what's the
Like
answer?
how? I need to understand, right? There's technical and there's non-technical roles that are existing in the Web3 space. And I think it's
Good point.
important that people can, like, if you have existing marketing skills, that's going to come handy in the metaverse space, specifically around things like advertisement, digital display ads, all of these other things that we're seeing, transfer from the real world into these virtual spaces. There's also virtual real estate agents. There's also, and that's like, to again to sell digital realty and campaigns and all of these other things. But then there's also the technical roles such as like, world builders, storytellers. There's product managers. There, all of these things are transferable into the metaverse space. Like you can't just build the product and don't know how to market the product or retain the communities who are using the product. So even being a community manager in the Web3 in the metaverse space, that will allow people to better navigate the tools, utilize the tools that are there, and also know how to integrate into the products in the metaverses that they are, on. So, there's designers for avatars. You can design your skin, your
Yeah,
clothing,
yeah.
all of these things. There's AI chatbot developers and
So what I'm
there's just
hearing
so
is
many
there's
roles.
multiple industries,
Yes.
right? And what I heard from Justin earlier about those who are leaving, um, those higher ed, even I'm going to say K through 12,
Yeah.
right? So it sounds like Web3 allows through a lot of facets, blockchain, a form of tokenization to reward them to stay. Think about when you're a kid, you're like, hey, I'm going to get this extra credit if I do this and do this. So do you see this as also a way to keep that tenure, like through tokenization, different ways like that to reward? I mean, we do it like I don't go to casinos, but I have scared money. Scared money don't win money, right? However, if I win, you go, let me put a little bit more in there because I think I might win. So let's bring it back simple as that, right? Reward me through ways. How can Web 3.0 through tokenization they keep that tenure because that's a lot of people who walked out the door, right,
Right.
Justin? No, a lot of history and lessons that you can't replace that. Now imagine that as a 20-year employee at a tech company that walked away, or a healthcare executive who walked away from a John Hopkins or something.
There's no more 20-year employees.
There is not, and I am
There's
so
no.
happy to say that
Yeah.
again. No, say
There's
that
no
part.
more
No, no, no,
20-year
no, no.
employees.
Scream
I
that
mean,
part. Say that again.
there is no more 20-year employees. The average,
Should it be?
tenure. No, honestly, it
There you
shouldn't.
go.
You should continue to grow. You should go where you can grow. And there, right now, we're in a space where the average might be about 5 years, not even 10 years, and that's been that way since actually 1983 between 2022, and people haven't publicized that, but they make it seem like Gen Z is crazy
Hold on,
and
hold
just
on, Miss
hopping
Talent. Hold on,
jobs.
Miss Talent Attractor here. So let's slow pause there
It's a
because
true
I
thing.
don't want this to go over everyone's head here because what you're saying is some jewels you're dropping here.
I'm listening.
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah. See, cause think about it.
No more
The OGs back in the day would say, or those who are back, I'm gonna say more seasoned employees back in the day, when someone who sat in front of you and were interviewing you would say, "Oh, I see you've been job hopping," and of course, looked at that as you weren't really being
committed.
that part.
Right.
So we need to speak
There's
now
a
to
difference
those.
between being committed and adding value to a place and then getting value from a place.
Okay, so we're gonna break this up. Justin, I want you to take the part about the adding value. Then you talk to Lisa, finish your thoughts around that part you were just starting about, because that part right there is, it looks like you've had a lot of job moves, and we want to make sure, it doesn't look like you're gonna stay here long. And see, so this is where things like where we look at STEM City, see, because look at we're looking at a metaverse world like STEM City USA, where some you can actually do the interview through this avatar piece you were talking about. I know you were going through it, but we were catching it. So to say that person is a real person. So speak to that one, and then of course I talk to other people.
So in terms of adding value, that's what Web3 is all about. So whenever we talked about this whole NFT craze and things like that, it was all about adding value. They were buying NFTs, they were buying pictures of monkeys for ridiculous amounts of money, and then once the market crashed, all of those NFT projects that did not provide value went to zero. Because the Board Ape Yacht Club, because Yuga Labs continued to provide value in the bear market and the bull market, there was a mint just this week that's still at 1.8 ETH, right? Because that particular project, that particular community continued to provide value. It's the same exact thing within the Web3 space. So I'm blockchain agnostic, but I love the Polkadot and the Web3 Foundation ecosystem because we went in that ecosystem a year and a half ago. They don't care where you came from. They don't care what nationality you are. If you can bring value, hey, Justin, let's go. Right. And I think you're going to see that with all of these communities, all of these ecosystems within Web3, because I tell people all the time, you don't get that within the Web2 world. I'm in higher education. And in some cases, I'm not saying all institutions, but in some cases, higher education is worse than industry. I'll just say it. So whenever and you can provide value there, and you'll still get crap because other people want to sit on their backs. They have tenure. They want to keep their shine. But whenever someone comes in and is working toward trying to make a difference, there's a problem, right?
And
In
Justin,
Web
and I
three, you'll continue to provide value, and then you'll continue to build that community around you.
and let's be upfront. When everyone said that was the ultimate goal, make it a tenure because I can never be what?
Right? You can never be fired. I've asked, so for the last 2 years, once I got into higher education, whenever I was gullible, I asked 7 professors who had tenure, is it worth it? Not a single one could give me a definitive answer of whether or not it'd be worth it to get tenure and whether or not they would do it again. It's kind of like staying in those jobs for 10 years because everybody did it. I'm going to work toward tenure, bust my bum just because everybody's doing it. But now those people who did it,
I was the cusp of those people who did it.
because even those people who did it could not tell me why, a good reason of why someone should do tenure.
And then who did, and Talisa, as you read, go and finish your, who did it end up hurting in your opinion? The consumer, which was the student coming behind them because you had reached your ultimate goal. As they had reached their ultimate goals of tenure. I'm not saying they weren't continuing to improve their skill set, but they had made it to the top.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a huge problem. I noticed that people who have got comfortable in their career, comfortable with their education path, comfortable with not further developing their skill set to keep abreast of emerging technologies or industries, those are the people who suffered and hurt the most. I mean, and that includes government and institutions, who are left behind out of this. There is a digital divide between the people who are in this space and who are not in this space and who have access to this space, as well as just the governments and the innovators and the institutions in this space. Like there is such a divide and a separation of like the actual technology that me as an innovator and other innovators and creators and entrepreneurs are building versus like the governments and agencies that we're trying to serve and work and collaborate with to empower our civilians in our society and our world. And I think we need to change that because it hurts everyone.
When we're talking about the metaverse by 2030 is projected to be a 700 billion, almost about 678, call it $700 billion
like
business,
billion,
right? Right.
billion
Like
now.
it grows by the second millisecond if you really want to think about it,
Valuation by,
right?
like next year.
Which leads to about what jobs you touched on a little bit. I know, so I want to backtrack a little bit because you gave us a lot of, you gave the audience out there a lot of information about here's what. So let's talk about what jobs will be in demand because of the metaverse, right? So I'm gonna throw a couple of them out at you, and I'm sure the two of you, and we're definitely gonna talk about cybersecurity. That's one of my favorites right there, right? And because I'm going to talk about the value of our company that does gaming, and like we've just created esports and cybersecurity and video game design track, right, in higher ed, that's sole source. We're now rolling that out in 10 HBCUs, right, as degree tracks.
Congratulations on that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to touch on this racial inequity and kind of what's happening in that field, because you two obviously are going to be upfront with that. So let's talk about some of these jobs that are out there that are available and some that maybe they don't know about. And then we talk about, like in gaming, there are 300 different types of jobs in gaming category, right? Project management and all those things I heard Lisa talk. So I'm going to throw out a couple and then you guys take your pick of, hey, no, I want to talk about that one. 3D artists, UI and UX designers, AR and VR designers, software engineers, AI engineers. The one I really wanted both of you to jump in on is the non-IT metaverse careers, because we all think we have to be coders and that is not the case. I'm a marketer by trade. I know enough coding to be dangerous, but not enough to be an expert, right? All right. So who wants to take the one non-IT metaverse careers, or I think both of you, if you don't mind.
I just want to first start off. I'm gonna let you. I just want to say this one statement. Every single role in the Web 2 world will transfer to Web 3. Every single one of them.
Right? For example.
So, for example, project managers, huge. Educators, huge. Like you said, product managers, huge. Developers in the Web 2 world, they're going to be in the Web 3 world as well, because like construction people in the Web 2 world, they do blueprints on paper, right? They do AutoCAD. They're going to do the exact same thing in Metaverse. So, quick story. There's this one. I can't call him a kid anymore because he's a grown man. But at the time I met him, he had 250,000 followers, 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. All he did was building Minecraft.
Wow.
So he did 3 builds for me. He did 3 builds for me in BitCountry, right? This was last year. I paid him a pretty penny because ETH was pumping. But during the bull market. But I talked to him about a month and a half ago because the founder of BitCountry wanted to bring him in and give him a grant to build in his metaverse, right? So then he was like, Dr. Golston, I know we talked about me deciding whether or not to go to college whenever we talked the last time. He was like, I didn't go to college because I'm trying to get my real estate license because I'm trying to find somebody to manage my 2 properties.
There you go.
Kid is 19 years old. He owns 2 properties that he got from building in the metaverse in Switzerland. Switzerland's not cheap, right?
That's major.
So those things that these kids are doing for fun, where that's all they know, they're making more money than we're making as adults.
Well, they came out with they were birthed with phones and iPads at birth. So
Right.
so all right.
That's all.
So Talisa.
No, I 100% agree. So although I am a technologist and an engineer by education and passion and trade, I actually entered into the metaverse and Web3 space by accident, and also by like just again being one of those people on Twitter trying to vet information. So I stumbled in to be a community manager for NFT projects, and it goes back to your point, Justin, about adding value, right? The reason why a lot of the projects were able to sustain themselves was because they had strong communities who really believed in the mission, the vision, and the purpose of the product and the growth over the next span of years. So I was one of those people to help people have buy-in on these projects. So community manager, I've been a product manager, and obviously a blockchain developer. And I believe that, what was the thing again?
Well, you're talking about the different careers, right?
Yeah, the
and
career
then,
path. So,
and
yeah,
then the
that was-
fact that the non-IT careers are
Right.
just as important.
Right. So yeah, I am technical, but I entered into this space doing 2 non-technical things, whether that be rolling out the projects or setting up Twitter spaces, which are those are actual jobs. Like there's no titles for these jobs because previously they
They started
didn't
at 60,000,
exist.
65, 70,000,
Yes,
by the
they
way.
Right.
do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, literally, you can just create like a Twitter design banner, gather some people who are knowledge experts, vet them out, connect with them on LinkedIn, gather them to, moderate and share stories and have these kind of discussions. And it's really lucrative. So these are spaces that I don't want us to be left out again, because I've seen the absence of us in Web 1. I've seen the absence of us in Web 2, and I am committed to making sure we're not absent from Web 3.
So one last story for those people that are aspiring blockchain developers that are out there. Now, yes, we're in a bear market at this given point in time, but the bull market is going to come back. There is a big shortage of blockchain developers out there. And during the last run, one of my peers, he's a CISO. Actually, he went to Bethune, actually, as a matter of fact. So he's a CISO, went to undergrad at Bethune, went to grad school at MIT. They were offering $250,000 for a starting salary for a smart contract developer, right? Programmer. The one programmer, they knew who this guy was. This person charged them $10,000 to interview him, and they paid it.
It's $160,000 is literally like it's the starting for like even entry level blockchain developers, but 200,000 is the standard.
The standard. Yeah, I mean. So now we're going to. It's a nice bridgeway into a subject matter that I think that some try to stay away from, but you can't run away from this. The pandemic uncovered the belly of this beast that we all didn't want to face, and this was around healthcare. This was around education. It was around even more. It really pulled the technology rug back of disparity even wider than. Look, it got worse than what we saw. What was the 2% there in what we call Silicon Valley. So let's talk about the racial and ethnic equity gaps, not only in post-secondary, but let's talk about career technology education, right? We're talking about that's the piece coming out of high school, but that allows them to, one, get that dual enrollment credit or get those certifications to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to go to college. However, if I got the certification in this, like what we're doing, with the juvenile system, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the coronavirus really uncovered some things that maybe we knew was there, right? I'm a state educator, right? And you sitting on your side, so Lisa, like, don't run away from it. Here's what it is. So let's talk about this, right? And how Web3 can help close that gap even more in this metaverse world. So we're gonna, wove it in together because the opportunity exists. What hurt us and still hurting us is this piece around minorities, non-participation in CTE, both at the K through 12 level. I'm gonna say 9th through 12th, and how I'll love to get you guys' opinion how we have to encourage our parents or those parents who look like us to say you need to be meeting with those counselors and understand what CTE is, because that loan Perkins loans pay for it first of all, and secondly, the value of what you see now about. Listen, I got 4 degrees. I tell people we don't need it. The part about me not needing anymore is because we own an online education company, so we got 2,000 credits, so we don't need to do that. But talk about the value of certifications.
So I come from the supply chain industry. So certifications are actually, depending on the industry, certifications are actually seen higher than degrees,
Yeah.
right? Because it's practical application, right?
Experience-based learning.
Yeah. So experiential learning, right? And also whenever we talk about the higher education system, we'll actually base it on, okay, did you get your graduate degree from a research institution or a teaching institution, right? So that's also a primary input into that. But certification. So in terms of the Web3 space, so we're actually introducing something you can do too. So I want my royalties. So we've seen play and earn within the last bull run, right?
That's right.
But so you're going to start to also see learn and earn.
That is cool.
You're going to be rewarding individuals to learning certain things. So we actually received a grant from the Stellar Foundation, and we're actually doing a research study to see if gamification can lead to positive financial literacy,
which it does,
right? But so we're actually developing a website right now called learnweb3.network. We're actually building it now, and so we're actually going to have people go through and take classes, and then they can earn NFTs as rewards, like micro credentials, like we're talking about in education right now.
Right.
So then those micro credentials are going to be on the blockchain. So now they can be verifiable by these Web3 employers, right? Show my address. Here's all my certifications I did. Just not with our with our program, with your program too, with rabbithole.gg as well. With all these programs, everything is on this one, and then that goes into soulbound tokens. Now you're getting educated in soulbound tokens. So all these things, and this is what I talk about within higher education, all this is nothing but systems thinking. Web3 is nothing but systems thinking. Everything is integrated. And if we can actually use Web3 and blockchain to teach our black and brown students this, they're going to be so far ahead these other people that's within this traditional higher education system that they don't understand this Web3 space, right? So perfect example. Last thing I'm going to say. So I actually got asked by one of the heads of Smill College of Business at Penn State, right? One of the top business schools. And he was like, Justin, we know you do a lot with the metaverse and blockchain and things like that. But me, with those traditional thinkers, those tenured faculty members, I went into that presentation getting ready to defend myself about the metaverse and crypto and things like that. But to my surprise, they were like, students are asking us about this. We don't understand even start how to explain it. She was like, we want to learn more about this. Actually, because there were like four professors from Dickinson School of Law on it. He was like, we see a big gap in terms of the legal aspects of this.
Right.
So it's like, I thought I was going to defend myself, but those people, they want to learn about it, but they even those tenured faculty members at higher education institutions don't even know where to start.
Right. Right. As you go in there, right? Yeah. So as you talk about this racial equity and
I was just about to finish.
Go ahead.
So to your point, there in the year 2020 was projected by the U.S. Department of State that there was going to be about 1.6 million open jobs in the tech-related industry, but universities were only going to be able to educate about 46% of the supply for these jobs. And literally, that's what happened with that disconnect between 2020, 2021, and 2022 was the fact that, online learning had significantly increased. I've been an online learner since 2009,
Right.
but, and, there was a lot of people who were not early adopters of learning in that way. So I just wanted to touch on that point that universities and traditional institutions are not going to be able to supply the demand because now we're in a space where people need certifications that can be technology change, the industry change, standards
Right.
change, and those credentials can continuously evolve with it over a span of 3 to 6 months. Whereas a 4-year degree, a lot of that information and education just kind of goes out the window. So
And it's not that we're look, everyone up here
I
on
went
this
to
panel, we
college.
all we all have the degrees. So no, but
I
no,
went to
in this universe that we're talking about on this panel, saying no, don't get a college degree. But listen, I was a first generation college student, graduate from my family, first to graduate in my family at all, and then my sister was second, right? So we get it. But you're coming from a single parent household who we get it. But that's typical of what's and that's the majority. I'm going to say I'll go out on a limb to say not everyone's going to come out where they had where school is going to be funded, but there are funds to go to college. So let's not back that away. But that's not the only outlet. Is what we're talking about here. Is what I'm hearing the panelists talk about here because you got synchronous learning, asynchronous, and now this blend flex, right? This blend flex learning that's out there that gives this learner um, a chance to engage. So the racial
That's what I
equity divide. So let's talk about a couple different categories for both of you. One, let's talk about this reentry model for those because we've been talking about higher ed. Then we got the juvenile model that everyone throws those kids away, and that's not. Now we're gonna demystify that, right? Because we shouldn't do that. We
anyone
were
can participate and everyone should.
yeah, we showed that, and it's not and everyone we talked about this earlier in some other panels, um, our company just past week made the announcement nationally. South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice awarded Blaze Fire Game sole source contract for all 13 campuses, the first juvenile detention center in the nation. So all those kids are going to be taking digital forensics, certified ethical hacking, computer certified secure video game design. All right, because we wanted to say take that myth away. Just because a kid may have taken something out of a store didn't make him a criminal. And the thing about it, there'll be, of course, as you all know, the computer certified, secure network user. I mean, you're talking about a 6-week certificate, and you're think we're making more of the guys, sadly, the ones who's got them behind the fence,
Right.
right? So, but that means they won't go back behind the
Exactly.
fence. So,
Exactly.
so let's bring it back from the higher ed a little bit, and let's talk about real world. Real world. I want to talk about the reentry, those veterans that we've overlooked, who's got VA money, and some who's got who you also can get your money paid for without having to go to a 4-year degree. So let's take it to the streets.
So I'll talk from the space that I know, which is underserved communities
There we
that
go.
historically been left out, specifically Black, Brown, women, persons of disability,
Native Americans.
Native American.
HBCUs.
Yeah,
don't
I just
leave
mean
they-
all.
they-
When
they-
I
And
say
my,
persons
and you
of
got,
color,
I'm a proud HBCU grad, so
Right.
so I'm
Like
on
you
it
right.
hard. So go ahead.
I have not been fortunate to have that experience.
We'll give you honorary interest. Just come on. Depends on how you
I'm
do the
Black
day.
every
You're
day.
doing
I'm
good right now.
educating every
We'll give you an
day.
honorary doctorate from this panel. So keep going.
All right. So, when we talk about the tech gap, right? So there's approximately like 7% of, I would say, of the STEM graduates who have attended traditional institutions and universities, only 7% are hired by big tech companies. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
7%, right? So those 7%, out of that, there's also that's Black folks specifically. Uh, then there's 9% who are Latinx. And then there are about 6% who are women who are hired at big tech companies. And it's not that we're not educated, it's not that we're lost in the pipeline. There's literally just a disconnect of the opportunities and access to said opportunities. And now that we're entering a decentralized web where opportunities and access can exist for everyone, but again, getting people it's not just having the desire. There's a lot of people who still do not have access to technology, to laptops. It's like
Right, yeah,
we're
no, yeah.
building these.
We need to address that digital divide there. About
Yeah,
they don't have broadband
yeah,
in the boroughs of Allendale,
right,
Fairfax.
right,
I
and
mean
it's
Allendale, South Carolina,
in
down, down,
Boston.
down,
I
down
mean,
in the
literally,
bottom of
where
South
I am
Carolina.
from in Boston and Roxbury, there was such a disparity of the technology. Although Cambridge is right across the bridge where there is Harvard and
We know where it
MIT.
sits in
You
Cambridge. I
know,
did a program there. So I get
right?
it.
So even with those institutions there in a city such as Boston, and there being a technical disconnect of access of Wi-Fi, of laptops, of technology devices, I'm like, this is in the U.S. Like, there's no reason why we're being left out of this space simply because of not having access to the actual technology. So that's the first thing I want to address.
We still live in a world of have and have not.
Right, right. And I mean, I feel like it's intentional at that point because it's like
Say that word again.
it's
Don't look into the
intentional.
camera when you
It's
say that
very
word.
intentional. We're walking around. I'm not, but some people are walking around with $1,200 phones, and they don't simply invest in this $200 laptop. And I think that that's like crazy because it's like with that $200 laptop that you get access to and get Wi-Fi for, you can then build your and enhance your career and your learning path, and you don't have to be worried about being excluded from traditional institutions. You can learn online. You can enroll in various courses and just really get started immediately on your career path and your journey. So there's no reason why people have to be left behind. But again, to your point,
So we left our veterans behind, in your opinion? Have we left our reentry, those coming out?
I absolutely believe
Oh,
that.
okay. Justin says he's going to touch on that too. So
I am educated. I have attended institutions such as MIT Media Lab, and I was still homeless, and I was still in a space of
that's a real
disparity and
story.
lack. Right. So it's less to do with education or access, or there sometimes is just the economy just shifting in a dynamic way that we can't. I suffered the recession of 2009, and like I I was educated. It still happened to me. It can affect anybody. So like allowing yourself to grow and evolve into these spaces and not leave behind people who want to participate in the world that we're trying to build. And I think that's really important to make sure that we're not excluding people from who want to contribute solutions to what we're trying to build.
We're trying to create more LLCs, is what I'm hearing. Right? That's what. So okay.
In terms of our veterans, in terms of those people within the reentry system, whenever we're talking about Web3, one thing and let me back up before we talk about about minorities and women in a space. Justina always say, if she can see it, she can be it. Right. Same exact thing for us. Right. I can't tell you how many times I've had Latino, I've had Black students come at me at Penn State and say, "You're the first Black professor I've ever had in my life." High school, college, we got 4,000 faculty members, and about seven or eight, a bit different situations. They said, "You're the first Black I've ever seen."
This university has a HBCU gymnastics program, and now those girls, they see it. They believe they can be a gymnast.
So I tell these students all the time, I ain't nothing but a redneck from North Carolina. I am nothing special, right? And they see that, and now I said you can go on TED.com right now. I did 5 TED Talks. I'm going to India in March and doing another one, right? I say you can do it. Anybody can do it, and that gives them the hope because they're first generation Black Hispanics going to Penn State University, right? I said, I went to Penn State. I went to the same school you went to. I said, you're undergrad at Penn State. You're going to a better undergrad than I went to, right? So, but in terms of, and one thing I wanted to say is, in terms of the veterans and others, we in Web3 world, we say we don't care about your past, we don't care about your resume. Show me your GitHub and show me your wallet.
Yep.
And if we can get those people even while they're incarcerated, and we can get them to start building, start doing commits on GitHub. Once they get out, that's all these people in the Web3 world care about.
So here we are talking about, let's stay on what Justin's talking about. Let's go behind the walls again. This was why we were so proud. We worked on that DJ deal for 5 years. We waited 5 years patiently until we got awarded that, right? And we were happy about that, just to see that 600 juveniles going to be touched that way. And I told them, our commitment is that you will never go back behind this fence again. that when you walk out of here with this cert, I'm telling you, stay in your household. You are now going to have your device. You're going to contract yourself out because we're helping them open their LLCs and all those things as we move forward this program. But stay there about how now the system that has put a lot of us that look like us behind the walls, how Web3, if you guys could take that magic wand and say, if there's an industry I want to touch now, let's talk about how if you had the ability to change the prison reform system, as we talk about prison reform, we sound like what I'm hearing both of you, we need to be talking about Web3 metaverse training through either programs like what we're talking about with STEM City, where they don't have, change it. How would you change the prison? How can Web 3.0 help do prison reform? So with that, what I heard you touch on about preparing them to re-enter the market, restore some families, connect them back with their families. There's a lot to unpack there. So take that magic wand and let's reform it. Go ahead.
So yes, we see people within the prison reform system, people going to get their GEDs and things like that, but we can do the same exact education that they do within the prison reform system with the GEDs and things like that, but then we can actually have those micro certifications. So every single class you take in that GED is a micro certificate. Once they get out, all those micro certs, all these micro certifications equal this GED cert.
And then create an avatar doing it, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Keep going. There you go.
But the thing is, yes, you might have been in for, stealing something, right? You could have been in something for even worse than that, unfortunately. But you know what? You can be anonymous in Web3, and all that goes away.
Just another thing. I think the audience, didn't understand that. I think that went over their head a little bit. So I need you this anonymous, making it in a positive way, because now we are talking about prison reform. We want them saying, and I always tell everyone, the smartest people are really where you don't think they are, and right. So this anonymous thing, look, it's not a non-political thing, because Justin, I'm gonna let him speak on it. Here, everyone can say they want about the Koch brothers who own Georgia Pacific and all those other companies, but they removed off their applications check the box thing, which because they realize, hey, I need warehouse workers, I need other people. So, look, they may be whatever they support political wise. I said I support that they took off that question. Did you serve time? And it has now made them employment status go up, right? So through Web3, avatars and all this is anonymous as a positive. You're not saying being anonymous is a negative. That's not what I'm hearing, right?
It's a positive thing, and similar. Yes, everybody's done things in the past. Everybody went to high school, but most people were in college. So there's some things that a number of people have done. I mean, yes, they're not illegal, but I'm saying, but whenever we're looking for employment, right?
That part.
The things that we're reviewing is what you can do. What value can you provide to an organization? What value can you provide to my project, my Web3 project? Within the Web3 world, primarily what I care about is the value you can provide from a technical perspective, which can be demonstrated through those certifications, right? Through GitHub, through things you have done that can be verifiable through your wallet and your address, right? So that's why I think that this Web3 world could actually make a huge positive impact to this prison reform system, because everything can be demonstrated on the blockchain. Because I know some people where they might have to, even this is even outside the prison reform system. This is for like immigrants, people that went to college.
Come back to that. I'm gonna let Talisa go and jump on. No, I feel your passion. I'm all about passion too, because she had that thing on that prison reform. I can see her there. Because we talk about a lot of women and moms in prison.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but what I really was just going to add to what you were saying, Justin, was the fact that all you care about is their technical experience and how they can add to your project or your business or things like that. And I think it's really important, like the fact that code doesn't care about your age, code doesn't care about your race, code doesn't care about what degree you got your what school you got your degree from, code doesn't care about your height, none of these things. Like, it's the people who care about these things. And I feel like, again, the anonymousness of Web3 allows people to, I feel like there's been as a person who has experience, toxic work environments, being the first or the only or the a woman at the intersection of woman and black. Um, Coming into the Web3 space, they don't know if I'm Tyler Durden
Correct.
versus Talisa Daughtry.
Correct.
So I think it's really I think it's really important, and it freed me up to create and just do the work that I love and do the things that I want to do without having my race and or that those other, real world identities that I'm so often connected
Well,
to.
the barriers that's always impacted minorities. Let's just look. We're being upfront about this, right? Listen, it's like your FICO score. You like it goes 350 to 850. If it came to the 350 and they said it went to that banker, he was like, I don't care. I don't know the face. I saw the score. And if you really think about it, that's how it would be judged. And what we're saying, what I'm hearing is you're saying, hey, Isaiah, no, in this world, or the both of you, I can be this person. I don't have to worry about going into a toxic work environment because I've created my LLC. See how those kids are gonna be coming out making 55, 60, and you know, I've created now. I've created brand me.
But also, Web3 is not some utopia right now. It's still crazy. It's a wild, wild west. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of things that still can happen, and safety and trust issues can still happen in discrimination. But like, it's weird how it's discriminate. It's wallet now. It's wallet and assets, right? It's like, oh, you only own one NFT, or you don't even have any Ethereum, or like, it's just there's other ways that people will find a way to discriminate.
So you're
and it's
still being bullied
unfortunate.
online.
It's really just unfortunate.
Right.
But in terms of the Web2 world, and this is what I explain to a lot of people, in that it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how educated you are. In some spaces, all they see is this. It doesn't matter.
And that has to still
Right?
be
And
understood.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You may be the Penn State person they walked up to, but at the end of the day,
Doesn't
they saw what first?
Yep. They saw black first.
They saw skin first.
They saw
it
black.
wasn't about no.
They saw black.
They
That's the
saw
book.
black first, right?
They saw
Black
black
first.
first.
So okay, so let's jump to how. So okay, we're speaking on that to the both of you. Now let's take it out of the education realm and the reentry realm and all of those pieces and veterans realm. So thank you for those answers. Let's move it to the corporate realm, because imagine that there are still barriers. Look, there are still a lot of us that are one that those who are in corporate didn't break those walls because of that. So does Web 3.0, having that become a certified metaverse, you know, expert, because there's a certificate out there now. We know we snatched that, right? What advantage do you think by having that skill set? Because the end goal should always go get a 15th and a 30th. This is what I call the corporate check-in. Though I love the 15th and 30th, I think that's valuable. Did it for a long time, right? But it's always good. It's always good to be the boss now, right? So, what do you think? What advice? See, we heard about them students coming up to you. You see on the outside world professionals and all that. We're talking about now corporate. How should corporate start looking at that? Remember we talked about, they were like, oh, you job hop. That should go away from talent recruiters at corporate America, right? Because you're trying to fill some roles.
I would, well, this is literally where I am at with things in the corporations that I work and partner with, is they now look at these experience from project to execution. So from ideation to execution. So
Even if it's less than 6 months?
yeah, like the impact of a project on the world, on an environment, on a community. They look at the impact. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying
Right.
that's typically what
Especially
it
if
has
you
been now.
specialize
It's
in
like,
something.
exactly. It's like if you say that you have, you rolled out a product that helped to engage 50,000 of your top 4 firms in emerging technologies, and the success rate was 90%, and you only did that for 3 months.
Or you grew somebody's social media
Yeah.
page sales, and to
Or
1.2
built,
million.
exactly, or
Right,
built their,
right.
or built their Discord community
Yeah,
to
my
10,000.
Yeah, you grew
right?
somebody's community. Okay, speak
These
on
are
that. Speak
yeah.
on that,
If
Talisa.
you built a Discord community from 50 users and participants to 10,000 users in like 7-8 weeks,
Right.
that's receipts.
Oh yeah, I know. I love
Like,
it.
so
I
it's
see it. I do it.
I've been doing this. Like, I'm not new to this. I'm true
Like
to
I'm
this.
real.
I'm
I'm the
doing
truth.
this. All
I'm
right.
like Allen Iverson. I'm the truth.
So,
Right.
so I think it's important that we look at those things as receipts rather than the
Mm.
long. You can be in a place for a long time and do nothing and contribute nothing and get nothing from it. So I think it's really important and more impactful to look at someone's actual journey and what the outcome of the thing that they started versus the longevity of them being within an organization and doing absolutely nothing. Like, even when I hire people, I say, is there something else that you feel you can be adding value to? Because I don't need you wasting time in a meeting. I don't need you wasting time in a work day. I'm not paying you to waste time. Like, I
Right.
need, if there's something you can contribute to, then please do that. Like, and I think as we go forward with that kind of mentality as leaders, as employers, as entrepreneurs, as educators, I think it would be more impactful, especially for the next generations that are coming in
So
to the
to Lisa
workforce.
and Justin, because it's going to spend on Justin, because Justin already answered about how some of the tenure professors like, yeah, I got mine. I'm good. I'm just going to hide right here. All right. Do we also see that probably happening in corporate America? Because think about it. Google.
Absolutely.
Google just laid off 12,000.
Absolutely.
Google's like 12,000, which was a little pinch on their employment number, but still 12,000 people don't have a paycheck coming in after
And
that
they got
severance
very
package.
comfortable.
And they got
And it's
very
unfortunate.
and they got very comfortable. Meta said we're freezing hiring. Microsoft, my old company, said we're frozen hiring. Amazon said we're freezing hiring. Especially at the corporate level. So do we see that happening in
And
corporate
that
America?
term
Where
zombie company continues to come up. Can you explain that? Because I don't even know. I don't even understand that concept. And I'm a professor.
right,
I
think
feel
about it.
like
Yeah, think about it because because now they've gotten
there's no
comfortable and
strategy.
they're like, so now you have some who've been working at these corporations 10, 15 years because you do have who Justin's producing out of Penn
Right.
State and what our company does and what you were producing who are coming up behind that, and you have the ones who's like, man, I've been 15 years in this corporate job. Let me just kind of get tucked away
Yeah.
over here in a category that
Right.
nobody will see me. But those days should be
Those
gone with
these
Web
days are
3.0,
over.
right? You got to show me your work, right?
It goes back
Okay,
to what you were saying earlier, Justin, at the beginning about how you don't have to do this or that. You can do this and that. And it's literally like, I think what has even carried me through my own career, like, in the STEM and web and tech sector, is the fact that I always hopped. I hopped and I added value and I added growth to everything. Everything
you
I
have
touched, I left
receipts,
better. Yes,
as
I
it
have
comes.
real receipts. But I feel like, back to the point that you shouldn't want to just be doing one thing. You should do one thing with excellence, but you should be able to do multiple things and add value. And I feel like that's how people are going to find satisfaction and their emotional paycheck, um, working multiple jobs in the metaverse space.
Justin, does Web 3.0 and the metaverse, when worlds like STEM City USA and all these other metaverse world we have, do we start seeing maybe a change of what we call age discrimination being pulled back? Because what could be your excuse? See, age has nothing to do with it. You could be 50 and really cool with this if you know technology. You can be 40, you can be 30. Because look, 50 is the new 40, 40 is the new 30, and 30 is the new 20, and 20 is the new 13, right? Because you got right. So do we see that Web 3.0 and the metaverse is a way to actually also be able to do what was really, really obvious out there. Because think about it, certain companies back in the day, Talise just did an amazing job of answering the piece about no, that job hop thing shouldn't exist anymore. And those who still hold on to that, shame on them.
Mhm.
Do we see Metaverse 3.0 or 3.0, Web 3.0 as a way to maybe start pulling back this age discrimination?
I think Web3 transforms everything because it pulls back the age discrimination, it pulls back the gender discrimination, it pulls back race discrimination. I think it pulls back a lot of biases because the user picks and chooses if they want to
In
be
that
known
environment.
as Justin Gholston, a 39-year-old black man that teaches, right?
Right.
I choose that. And then I can based on what metaverse I'm in, based on what blockchain I'm in, based on what environment I'm in, maybe I am Justin Golston,
Right.
professor. Or
Right.
in other ones, maybe I am just my ape,
Right.
teaching in the metaverse.
Right.
It just depends. It depends on the person. So I think it changes everything. And this is one discussion I had with the director of entrepreneurship at Penn State. I said, based on what I've because he started asking me questions about Web3. I said, I have my PhD in leadership and organizational change. I said, based on what I'm seeing in this Web3 space, I said, all the theories that we learned in PhD programs are obsolete. They know, they
Whoa! Wait a minute! Wait a
these are
minute!
my
Wait a minute,
thoughts. These are
Justin!
my thoughts.
Wait a
These are
minute,
my thoughts.
Justin!
They
Hold
might
on!
be a
Hold on!
little
Hold on,
strong in your
Justin!
words.
Hold on, Justin! That was strong there. So now I need to ask. How did he or she feel about that statement? Because that's what that's like that song, pressure.
No, the thing is, just like with the metaverse discussion, the presentation I did with the professors. I made that statement ready to offend myself, but he's like, to an extent, I agree with you, and yes, there needs to be more research on this. This is a director at Penn State,
But we also heard it needs more research done onto it.
right?
So
But
it's kind of we still like I hear you, Justin,
right,
but
but the thing is,
but at least he heard
but
you,
maybe you can tell by the last hour, I'm very direct in my statement. So
Well,
that's a little unconventional based on what they're used to,
right?
right? But
But
I've
it's
seen
needed.
it.
But
I've
it's needed.
seen it. And again, I talk to Justina all the time. It's like we said, before. It's all about receipts. And the thing I tell my students, I encourage my students. I say, I said, there is not every single thing I say in this class you do not agree with. I said, check me on it. I said, if I say something you do not agree with, check me.
All right, so Lisa,
Right?
all right, as the subject matter expert in this side on this panel from a gender perspective, what does Web 3.0 do for women? Both. Let's break it down by the age groups because we have think about it. You have 13-year-old, 14-year-olds creating NFTs out there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I want you,
That.
I want you to talk about it. And I want you to talk about from the black and brown girls who say, I would speak and say to my black and brown girls. I mean, speak so the world can hear you on that. To my black and brown girls, but also to when I say women. So I want you to address both because I think what Web 3.0. I'm a firm believer. Look, I'm an Air Force kid, right? Born and bred. So in my mind, we were on this military base and we had this, you know, like jumbo. I'm gonna say jambalaya of people. So maybe we grew up. Me and my sister grew up differently, looking at what we say people, even though we're out South Carolina, but we just looked at differently. We were okay being around Asian. We're okay being around all that because we know the world is round for a reason and not flat. Right. So but speak to these generations because you have these girls who worrying about am my hair, is my lips too big, of my so we got to do that and help and talk to about how that can lead to women professionals who are still facing that in the walls of corporate America and non-corporate America.
Right. So I have helped to launch over 10 women-led NFT projects over 2021, and two of them have now gone on to doing amazing things. I want to touch on A Thousand Faces, the NFT project that highlights women from various industries and role models in the communities, and a lot of unsung heroes. And a lot of those, the profits from the NFT women-led projects go back to uplifting community. And I think it's really important that, like, we've heard about these NFT projects that go on to make millions of dollars off of, just like you said, like monkey face art. and
Right.
and there was like even like a stick person who was like literally just a stick figure person, and that sold for a lot. Yeah, and it's just so many like pointless things that I'm sorry. There's so many pointless things that, people have created or we have welcomed and greenlit in society that we really just need to discard and uplift and like amplify like things that actually matter and mean something to our world. So as far as the NFT projects that like the women led, so there's been about, honestly, like, I don't have a concrete number, but I would
Right.
I mean, to estimate the ones that I know that have been, like, really impactful, I would say, like, there's probably, like, in the thousands, but the ones that in the thousands and ones we don't even know of, you know? So I don't wanna come with a solid number for that,
Right.
but for, I would say, like, the 1,000 or
Right.
so that I do know of and have followed, and just, like, the hundreds of those that I continuously follow, that I buy my wallet. I have about like, I'm at 500 NFTs right now. Like,
Mhm.
and it's like, only because I'm really discriminating about the things that I want. Like, I
Well,
don't just buy everything and buy into every community, but I buy in the communities that have a committed vision to uplifting women, to uplifting people of color, to uplifting underrepresented voices in the Web3 NFT technology spaces, and they have some kind of shared equity and outcome of what they want to distribute their dollars to. So whether that be through community organizations online, or funding scholarships for more women to create NFTs, or people of color to create NFTs, getting visibility for them, getting them into NFT
And we can't
NYC.
forget about those little girls now.
Yeah, and cannot forget it exactly. So, like, there's organizations like Girls Who Code and Black
Yeah,
Girls Code
yeah.
who have since switched into the Web3 space as well and created NFTs that benefit girls even going to school. And I think it's really important that we understand that it's not just about what we're holding in our digital wallets, but like the impact that we want to achieve with the things that we're purchasing through these arts and collectibles. Because again, it's only as strong as the communities and the buy-in, and these ideals. I believe if we see more positive imagery and arts and creative projects and storytelling through VR and all of these other things by underrepresented voices, specifically Black, Latinx, women, people with disabilities, I think it would be really important, because we can't continue to keep building worlds and products and spaces that we don't exist in, and that we're being excluded from.
And we're spending a lot of money. So
And we're spending a
Justin,
lot of money.
I mean, we have to think about it, right? Justin, you're on a college campus, and I've taught on college campuses, so I get it, right? Would we say the Web 3.0 in this metaverse world um, allows us also to start collaborating and making the society of the world we live in and erase this color barrier for those who want that to happen? Look, there are some biases there of people where they're raised, how they were raised in their homes and whatever. They're gonna believe what they want to believe, right? And I tell people, look, if someone has a belief that's so strong, they're gonna believe that. I don't care what they what it is. But doesn't Web 3.0, or maybe agree or disagree, also allows us opportunity where that little brown girl who probably would have really communicated, it gives he or she a chance to communicate with someone that does not look like them, and they're on the same equal level playing field, right? So this is about, now we're making this playing field level because you are anonymous.
It can break down those barriers. I actually spoke with a senior director at IBM, where not only on college campuses, not only through students, but even she's a female leader, and still she's a senior partner and still faces the same discrimination at the corporate level.
See?
Right?
That's right.
So she was even talking about trying to create a safe space for people within a Fortune 100 company.
Right now, they just have employee resource groups, and they not knocking and they
It's
they have
social
they go to the social outing. Nothing against ERG groups, but we know what those are. And you have an executive sponsor who doesn't look like you, who say, I support the African American group,
that are not safe
and that's
spaces for
not real safe space, because who's over the chair of the ERG group gets all the attention with that executive leader, not everyone in there. So you're right, Justin. You're talking about the safe space that could be created inside corporate America, because now everyone's on level. Okay, keep going.
Around the world, everything. And it's like our biggest mission is just for education. We want to democratize education. We want to break down the barriers of education. So I have peers. Again, one of my other partners, he went to grad school at MIT. Justina testified to Parliament in Canada. She teaches me stuff on blockchain. I work with people from Princeton. I just did a sustainability class at USC.
Does Justina look like you? Yes or no?
No, she does not.
See, and that's a very important point to make, right? Because that's safe. That's what we're talking about here. Uncovering this belly that we don't want to really say it, but it's okay. We need to say it's okay that we can work around spaces that don't look like us, but not be considered code switchers, because we're going to talk about that, right? That's a whole nother subject.
Another thing.
Right, I'm gonna let
got a
Talisa
short
jump
amount
in.
of time,
Yeah. We got the time to knock in there. Just be sure with dance.
But yeah, but I think that the metaverse is going to break down all those barriers, because then you can pick and choose whether or not you can go into space. And then also, I was just speaking with one of my peers from SAP. I didn't know USC is $60,000 a year for undergrad.
Absolutely,
right?
it is.
I was like, I went to A&T. It was like 8,000. in the 2000, I don't know how much it is now, but 2006, A&T's about only $6,000. You got
Yeah,
60,000
that
for
now.
schools. I don't know how much. I don't even know how much Morgan is, but anyway, you know, you can have someone that can't even afford A&T, can't even afford Morgan, collaborating with somebody from MIT, from Harvard,
Yes.
from the London Business School. We just taught at King's College. So
okay, I know that.
So we just taught at King's College in London, and we did that event in a metaverse.
That's correct.
So we're at one of the top universities in London, and we made that accessible and available for everyone.
You're gonna do next
That's
time.
what's
through
gonna
STEM
happen.
City.
That's what's gonna happen.
Next time we'll be doing through STEM City USA.
There you go. But again, that content, that education, that because we actually got a grant from Solana.
Oh, okay.
We're sharing that information with the world. We can do
Right.
it in STEM City. We can promote it across anywhere.
Well,
And
we
that's
heard
what
it here
Metaverse is gonna
first.
do.
The next one will be done in STEM City USA.
There you
Keep
go.
going. Right.
Yeah.
Talisa, go ahead. You know, right? He really he's hitting on something here.
I didn't know what the rest of the question was. I thought we both answered it.
Oh, okay. Well, I get to switch the subject now, which is perfect. So we talked about well, no, let's stay on it a little bit because he talked about who I asked a very direct question about. Did his colleague look like him? He said no.
Right.
And the point I was talking about that is what was uncovering this racism. You talked about Black Girls with Code. I know Kim and all of them, but
Yeah.
but talk about even your international travels. What having this knowledge and ability has given you, since the time of that being very transparent about, homeless and all that. So I think that I tell people you got to be authentic.
Yeah.
People have to know that you've been through a journey
Yeah.
because they will respect you more, and there's nothing to be shameful about that journey.
Yes, I'm not shameful
Right.
about anything I've encountered or overcome. Yeah, a lot of the spaces that I'm 90% of the 95% of the spaces that I have occupied and have also had benefactors and collaborators of have been people who do not look like me, who do not come from the communities that I come from, or nor have they had the backgrounds that I've had. So I think it's really important that as we continue to talk about these spaces being toxic and it's at every level. It's every level of toxicity. And it's in any kind of space. Like there's virtual toxicity on Zoom meetings, like people were experiencing in 2020 and 2021 and being left off of like email lists for invites for meetings. And I think it's really important that we touch on that. We're not now entering into some kumbaya land of all is well and race doesn't matter and age is not a problem and gender, like that's not what it is, but it could be. It very much could be, and we can create that because we are early enough in the technology to create true equity for everyone who wants to participate in this space. So, will there still be discrimination? Perhaps, yeah. Like I said, there will be new ways that people will always. But back to the point of, being into this space and navigating in this space and like the gaps and racial gaps and all of these other things. What I have been continuously seeing right now is also there's a lot of non-black and brown people who have avatars that are black and brown people in the metaverse space.
Oh.
And women. Yes, yes, yes. And this is a thing that is constantly being discussed in various communities that I'm a part of where that's a new thing. Like I have no idea.
So
yet.
there you go. Justin's about to ask.
I have
See,
no idea.
I-
Justin, I wish please go. Like
because think about it
I
now.
want to loop y'all in so
But
badly.
so you
on
so
these
you so you want to go
conversations.
get the tan in the
And so this is
summer, and you
beyond
want to
that
do
now.
all
This is
that.
beyond
So
that. This is beyond that. So now I'm wondering, how does equity truly look like for people who can now take our skins and have our skins in the metaverse and not these and not have to experience that in real life. So I don't know.
is it a monetization thing? They're looking at the money that's being
Yeah.
thrown at that because
And
if you
there's projects that are
and there's
made
projects
of us
that's
that are not us.
that part right there. That's the part projects that's being dedicated to
Yeah.
those who are of minority descent.
Yeah.
So now, Talisa started the conversation earlier. One of her commitment, like all of our commitments, I told everyone, if we don't do this, this is like this is like the Facebook that will never come around again.
This is them rewriting history.
This is
that's what it would be.
rewriting
It would be
history.
everyone
So if we're
rewriting
not in this
history.
now,
Gotta take our
you
music.
you would have just so it's projects,
Tupac
right?
wasn't Tupac.
It's projects and money's going towards that because if you're a woman owned, whether white or black,
Yeah.
or if you're a minority,
Yeah.
right? So this is much. Now we're back to that thing that really what makes the world go round, right?
And this is
And
why
it's
we have to
called
be
that
in this
color
space.
green. Is that what we think we're seeing here now? They're like, wait a minute, they're throwing that at my door. Wait a minute. So I need to portray to be this.
We have to be in this space to ensure that we are in this space.
So now you want to be like us, you want to dance like us, want to talk like us, and want to do all this like us.
So all right. So I got a question for you all. I'm gonna flip it on you two right now.
Okay.
So Meta had a good offering. They had a grant program where they were bringing in more specifically African Americans to build within Web3.
That's correct.
So, what's your thought? So again, Meta is a centralized metaverse. Meta
correct.
will still control the metaverse.
That is correct.
So although Meta was giving money primarily to minorities, what's your thoughts on that? Are they doing that just to monetize off of us, to get our data, to see what our thoughts are, and to try to control it, or what? What's your thoughts?
I believe and agree.
They are giving money to our communities. Right?
Allegedly, there's no way to really track any of these things. And also, most of my career has been holding these initiatives and incentives like accountable. Like, I need to follow up. I need to know who exactly these checks went to, how many participants, what was the outcome, like all of these things. So I'm that person.
It's pretty obvious.
I need to unearth it. Like why y'all want our ideas, our creativity, all of these things. Like we can be doing it for ourselves and building with each other.
No,
Yeah.
it's think about it. It's
Yeah.
we just said earlier, metaverse is 678 by 2030. We call it 700 billion. At the end of the day, that's 700 billion in 2030. We are a consumer, $2 trillion consumer spending every year,
Exactly.
consumer base.
Exactly.
So why did they do it, Justin? It's the dollar now.
Yeah.
As I'm going to say, is one of the reasons. Not saying their commitment towards the communities out there, because they did. Look, here's what happened. George Floyd murder, there was $50 billion committed. We're approaching the third year. Go pull the numbers. Only 7. Most people probably agree or disagree or challenge some of my numbers, but we've gathered there's probably still about 60 to 70% of that money still committed out there that hasn't been given, that hasn't been executed out. Not saying so they were committed. See, the word was it was committed. Committed.
All this stuff is social washing.
So we're back to what it is.
Totally
So
different
what is it?
conversation.
It's the green. It's the thing that makes it so. Again, not challenge. But Meta also has been challenged with some of their practices lately, right? I mean, they know it. It's all public news. I'm not saying anything negative. Look, we're all on it. But I think we have to think about that. We have to then continue to tell ourselves what I've heard up on this, from you guys today is, look, at some point we have to continue to realize that we can't be consumers always, that we need to flip the monetization into where we're telling you what we're going to spend our money on, but more important, we're going to create our own aspect to make that money. And believe Web 3.0 and the metaverse allows us to do that, right?
Yep.
All right, we have about 2 more minutes, so or about a minute and 30 seconds, so I want to wrap it up. So closing statements, ladies first.
What are we closing out on?
Give us some advice, your statement.
So honestly, I would love to see more Black and Brown people participate in that, and you can follow along with Web3 together to get started. And happy to help those out there navigate their journey and make a more equitable space for us all to thrive in.
And we can find you on LinkedIn.
Yes, Talisa D, LinkedIn, Talisa D, everywhere.
Absolutely. Justin.
Yep, you can just Google Justin Golston. You'll see my LinkedIn. You'll see the Wikipedia. You'll see the Google Scholar. We just published the very first journal articles on the metaverse, the first academic case studies on soulbound tokens, and then we also just published an article on digital inheritance with a grant from the Web3 Foundation. So we're doing a lot of work within the Web3 space. If you're interested in learning in the metaverse, just connect with me on LinkedIn. We've actually been teaching in the metaverse and crypto boxes for the last 2 semesters at Penn State. So we're going to continue to do that, and we're actually going to continue to try to with HBCUs so that we can actually democratize and get some of those student blockchain club lands in these metaverses so they can actually build and own their own metaverses.
We'll help that. So my name is Isaiah Reese, and through STEM City, we're like STEM City USA, please as we enjoyed having everyone talk about how this workforce impacts. So please go ahead and continue just check in on STEM City USA. We already know we're going to have a STEM City USA
go.
Penn State program
There you
coming
go.
in the future. You know, you heard it first here. So my name is Isaiah Reese, and I will say this in closing, as I've said all week. Alicia Keys said that she was born to create. In our world, this gives us a chance to say not only we were born to create, we were also born to create and innovate. Thank you.
But now something very special is happening. Major shift, a generational shift. The metaverse, something very, very special that drags us to success, whether we want to be successful or not. So all of these things have one common thread. MetaQuake USA is everything will always be live.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
Dr. Tyrone. Dr. Tyrone Tabor, welcome to Great Day, Washington. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Mark, and thank you on this most beautiful day.
Man, so Doc, okay, what is the metaverse?
Imagine a movie. Right now, you're sitting there, you're watching a movie. It's passive. The metaverse is you going into the movie. So you leave your chair and you actually go into the television, on the movie screen. But here's the key. Once you're in there, you're actually making the movie in real time and interacting with other people in the movie. That creates the metaverse. It's all around you. You're in merge. You can go to it anytime and you can interact with other people all in real time.
And so, Dr. Tabor, I think, especially people in my generation, feel like, well, that's something that's developing over here and it doesn't really impact my life. But the thing about it is I'm starting to see banks advertise metaverse connections and virtual connections. I'm starting to see it pop up. Facebook just changed their name to Meta. And I think it's one of those things that you can't really avoid it. And I think, so that's why we wanted to have you on to talk about it, because it's coming, and actually it's best to be on top of it. A lot of people still say WW when they're talking about a web address. And so how do we, as regular people, get ready for the metaverse? How can we slowly, get acclimated to this new world?
Well, Mark, let me tell you this. The first thing is to realize that what's happened in your generation and our parents' generation, change used to be slow, like a frog being in boiling water. Eventually the frog would get cooked because it never knew the temperature was going up. In our lifetime, change is radical. It's happening so quickly. So the first thing we have to understand is that change is happening right this second. The metaverse is a tear in the fiber of our society. And the reason it's happening is because of the pandemic. Without the pandemic, you would not have the metaverse happening as rapidly as it's happening. And why is that? Because of the pandemic, we had to have social closeness and physical distancing, which meant everybody is using video conferencing. And because of video conferencing, everyone is consuming knowledge in a way they weren't doing 2 years ago. Hence, new industry, new opportunities, and everybody's rushing for the metaverse. Let me tell you why this is so important. It's like the gold rush. Everybody's at the beginning. It's all equal, and whoever gets there first can win.
This is exciting, but it's still, I think people will say, so what do I do? Where do I start? Where do we start?
Well, the first thing to start is to begin looking at everyday applications and what you're doing now. A metaverse is a community. So the first thing that you want to do, if it depends on where you want to play in the metaverse. So let me just break it down very quickly. If you want to look at the metaverse as job opportunities, there's a lot of new programming that is going to be critical that can lead to jobs from 80,000 to up to 200,000. Unity, 3D Vista, SketchUp, all of these metaverse kind of software that needs to be developed. If you're an investor, you can start investing in things like Microsoft, Unity Software, Autodesk. Those stocks are blowing up because people are pushing toward the metaverse itself. If you're in a community and you want to create new softwares and new communities, here's a real opportunity to develop applications. So there's tons of areas from education, job training, and investment and finance. And we could spend hours on this, but I just want to tell you, those are three major avenues in which an everyday citizen can actively participate in what is happening now, the metaverse.
All aboard. Step up, ladies and gentlemen. Doors are closing. Good day, ma'am. Good day, sir. Thank you for boarding. Have your tickets ready. Next stop is downtown Chicago.
Don't wanna be late. Listen to me without no words. Just listen to the thoughts, girl. Hold me down so I can burn. so light weigh me down. A million deaths, 2 lives found. That's for sure. When the night comes, just wait for the train. When the night comes, just wait for the train. When the night comes, just wait for the train. When the night comes, just wait for the train.
Sunsets on the horizon, the night falls. My partner's listening, I'm hoping you might call. Waiting for your words forever, they're unspoken. Promises are made forever, they're unbroken. No breath, no sight, eyes wide open but with no light. Everything about it seems so right. Darkness comes, but I can feel you through the rain. The fire's still burning while I'm waiting for the train, the train, the train, the train.